What's up?
What's up, YouTube?
All right, YouTube. So we're gonna get into this one today. Carlson says this is an obvious lie. So he's gonna weigh in on the Hunter Biden's questionable business dealings and reveal why China has power over President Biden.
Let's get into this, baby.
That's some tea.
Yeah, I had to get some coffee when I heard.
When I told him this one, he was like, "Let me go get me some coffee before we start."
Yes.
I'm like, "Let me go get me some too," because
it's gonna be very interesting.
It is gonna be very interesting. All right.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. We told you about this on Friday night, and then over the weekend we put it into some context. So we'll summarize the story for you once more. Last summer, a group of American intelligence analysts working for the U.S. government issued a report on the origins of COVID. They've been asked to, and they did. Now, these people work at CIA, NSA, a bunch of other agencies, and they concluded that the coronavirus may very well have been manufactured in a lab by the Chinese military.
Wow.
Turns out that's not a talk radio conspiracy theory. As a factual matter, it's a very real possibility. And if it's true, if that's what happened, and again, many highly informed people believe that's exactly what happened, that would mean the Chinese government is responsible for killing millions of people around the world.
Yes.
We get him gas.
Obvious questions about motive. Why would China unleash a deadly virus on the globe? To the American mind, that is an unimaginable thing to do. The Chinese government thinks very differently from the way that we think. And here's why. America has been the dominant power in the world for more than 100 years, since the end of the First World War when Europe destroyed itself. Empires destroying themselves always paves way for new empires, something we should keep in mind at the moment. So American attitudes about everything are shaped by generations of casual affluence. We're in charge and we always will be in charge. That's what all of us assume. But the Chinese government does not assume this about us or them. Until fairly recently, China was a poor country. There are still millions of living Chinese who remember seeing their neighbors starve to death during famines. As a result of that experience, China is very aggressive and very ambitious in ways that your average State Department official from Bethesda could not begin to comprehend.
So killing people?
So would a government like that use COVID as a bioweapon?
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't it? The coronavirus reshuffled the global order. It crushed the American economy. It made China preeminent. If China takes over the world, and that appears to be coming, COVID will be one of the main reasons it was able to. So by definition, you would think we would want to know where COVID came from. That's a meaningful question.
Yes.
But Joe Biden doesn't want to know. He ignored the report he ordered. He ignored the findings of his own intelligence agencies. That's bizarre.
But how do we let him do that?
And if you think that's weird, how about this? This February, Biden canceled a counter-espionage program called the China Initiative. Now, the point of that program was stopping the rampant threat of our national security secrets by the government of China. But the White House decided, to very little fanfare, that somehow that program was racist, and therefore it had to end. That means the Chinese government can now spy and steal with impunity.
Wow.
Not since Franklin.
So we done went from COVID, killing all these people, to now that is racist.
And not only that, but, China getting all the information they need from us. That's giving them the upper hand.
I'm surprised they didn't say because Trump started it.
Franklin Roosevelt colluded with Joseph Stalin. Has an American president done anything like that? But Joe Biden didn't hesitate. And then he kept doing things like this. Now Biden says he plans to end tariffs against China. Tariffs that Donald Trump put in place and that China has been complaining about ever since.
Oh, there you go.
And not only is Joe Biden ending tariffs against China, Joe Biden's Justice Department has just arrested the man responsible for those tariffs. His name is Peter Navarro. He was the most effective China hawk in the Trump administration. Last month, Peter Navarro was handcuffed at a Washington, D.C. airport and dragged to jail in leg irons. Why? Supposedly because of January 6th. But Peter Navarro had literally nothing to do with January 6th. He wasn't even there. But Joe Biden didn't stop there. Steve Bannon was the other notable voice in the Trump administration, warning about the growing power and malicious intent of the Chinese government. In November of last year, Steve Bannon was also arrested by the Biden Justice Department, also on absurd pretexts. So take a step back. What's the message here? Well, it's unmistakable. Don't criticize the Chinese government or we will throw you in jail.
Wow.
Now, if you happen to be watching all this from Beijing, as Chinese leaders definitely have been, you would be applauding. Joe Biden just arrested your loudest critics. How gratifying is that? Things are going well for you. You already control Canada, whose brain-dead prime minister is effectively a Chinese lackey. Now the most powerful country in the world is doing exactly what you want it to do. You'd be thrilled by this. You'd be especially thrilled to see Joe Biden destroy America's single greatest asset, which is its domestic energy supply, and make the United States entirely dependent on Chinese technology for wind and solar projects. If you're the Chinese government, this is the masterstroke. This is the checkmate. Once you control a country's energy grid, you control that country.
Yeah, you control the energy.
And you would know that because you didn't go to Yale Law School.
Who is allowing this to happen?
The man just said who allowing it. The government is allowing it.
I understand that. I mean, I got that part, but I just had to say it out loud.
And you know something about reality as a result. And by the way, if you're watching all this information, you find it especially amusing to have the President of the United
China
States
is clearly
sell
happy.
you his country's strategic petroleum reserve, even as he
What
declared
Biden
oil
is
and
doing.
gas off limits to his own population. If you could pull that off, you would know you were entirely in charge of the U.S. government. You could make Joe Biden do anything. But of course, you already knew that because you've seen it in action. When American forces left Afghanistan, Joe Biden turned over Afghanistan's entire mineral wealth, which is vast, to the Chinese government. That would include gold and coal and oil and gas, lithium, rare earth minerals, resources the United States needs to make smartphones, automobiles, power our energy grid.
So guess
But
who
Joe
we got to
Biden
buy it
handed
back
all
from?
of that to the government of China. And then he kept going. Biden also dropped the Trump administration's efforts to ban Chinese surveillance programs that pose as social media apps. That means WeChat and TikTok. Then Biden approved licenses for Huawei, which is controlled by the Chinese government, to buy auto chips. That gives the Chinese government even deeper control over the automotive supply chain in this country, one of our last manufacturing sectors. And then, as a humiliating flourish, a deep and groveling kowtow, Joe Biden signed a so-called climate pledge with China. China will ignore this pledge. Obviously, they already are ignoring it. But we will take the pledge seriously because that's the kind of country we are. And that pledge will further cripple our domestic energy production because that's what it was designed to do. It's all pretty amazing when you think about it, when you put it in context. Whatever helps the Chinese government, Joe Biden has dutifully done.
Yeah.
Whatever hurts America's most important strategic interests, he has also done. But why has he done this? How did the Chinese government wind up with...
That's the thing, man. That's why I'm so quiet, because all I see is chaos. You know, and, you know, to continue doing this is chaos.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And what do you get from chaos? Chaos. So he's consistent, and he's very consistent in giving China what they want.
But what about the American people?
Man,
I need my bigger cup. No. What about the American people? What about people that voted for you?
with so much control over the United States president, over Joe Biden's behavior. We've been mulling that for more than a year. And that's why, since October of 2020, we have been on the Hunter Biden laptop story, because that seems like the key to this question. How the Chinese government got so much control over Joe Biden. Now, the tech companies have tried to censor that story at every turn. They're doing so again tonight, and it's not surprising why. They're beholden to China as well. But we've continued to pull those threads. So is the Daily Mail. In April, the Daily Mail reported that a whistleblower was in possession of 450 gigabytes of deleted material from Hunter Biden's laptop. The whistleblower's name is Jack Maxey. He'd gone to Switzerland fearing retaliation. We wanted to know more, so in April we flew to Zurich to meet Jack Maxey. Here's part of what he told us. So you've taken a look at the laptop, and you now believe that there are deleted files on that laptop that nobody else has seen, but that you have found and seen. Describe how you found these files.
Well, my first purpose of this trip was to get the 128,000 emails, of which 120,000 were in archives on the original visible portion of it, and to catalog all of the text messages, which most of which are also in archives. And we did that relatively quickly. I was just going to make copies for the Senate, the House, and all the state AGs, and see if maybe local sheriffs could start enforcing the laws that the feds wouldn't. And about day 5 of this process, one of my guys said, "Hey, Jack, I feel like there's more on here. Do you mind if I try some little tricks?" And I said, "Sure, go ahead." And within 15 minutes, he's like, "Oh my God, we just got 10 gigabytes of this, 5 gigabytes of this, that, and the other thing." Ultimately, we ended up with over 100,000 more emails that we've been able to scrape out of it, 80,000 images and videos.
So you can say what you want about Jack Maxey, and you can dismiss him by calling him names, but the story he was telling was really interesting, tantalizing, in fact, given what we already knew was on the laptop. But for some reason, no one in law enforcement appeared to be listening or even care. But the Daily Mail kept going on this. Recently, they said they gained access to a backup of Hunter Biden's iPhone from the laptop, and it's a good thing they did. It turned out to be a trove of fascinating information. It included a voicemail from Joe Biden to his son talking about a story in the New York Times about Hunter Biden's business dealings in China. Here's part of it.
Hey, pals, Dad, it's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least has been online. It's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you.
So the context for that is complicated. Here's what's not complicated. Joe Biden has said on the record repeatedly that he had no knowledge of his son's business dealings with China. That proves Joe Biden was lying. And we have a lot more on this coming up. But just know that voicemail, which apparently is real, proves that Joe Biden knew about his son's business dealings with China. That ought to be enough to spur a wave of media inquiries to the White House. Why did you lie to us? You haven't seen that. Now, the Times piece you just heard Joe Biden reference was published on December 12, 2018. The story reported on Hunter's dealings with a man called Yi Zhiming. He led the CEFC China Energy Company until 2018. At that point, he was arrested on charges of corruption and economic crimes by the Chinese government, which is never a good thing. He hasn't been seen since.
Okay.
The government of China has seized most of CFFC's assets.
Wow.
One of his top deputies, called Patrick Ho, was also convicted in New York of bribing African officials to help Iran avoid oil sanctions. What a group. These are Hunter Biden's business friends. So why would Joe Biden have any interest in this? Why would he be concerned about a New York Times story on CEFC and Hunter Biden? Well, it could be for the obvious reason. Joe Biden himself was making money from this, from CEFC, lots of money. According to emails obtained by the New York Post from Hunter Biden's laptop in October of 2020, one of Hunter Biden's business partners, James Gillier, explained that Joe Biden would receive a 10% stake in CEFC. Quote, "The equity will be distributed as follows," he wrote. 20 to Hunter, 20 to Rob Walker, 20 to Gillier himself, 20 to Tony Bobulinski, 10 to Jimmy Biden, that would be Hunter Biden, that would be the president's brother, and quote, 10% held for the big guy. The big guy. So Tony Bobulinski, whom we interviewed for a full hour, he got a 20% stake of this deal, told us that there was, quote, no question the big guy is who he so obviously is. That would be Joe Biden. This arrangement meant millions of Chinese dollars for Hunter and Joe Biden. In early 2017, just a few weeks after Biden left the White House the first time, a company controlled by Yi called State Energy HK sent $6 million in wire transfers to Robinson Walker LLC. Robinson Walker LLC was controlled by Rob Walker, one of Hunter Biden's business partners. Then, in June of 2017, Hunter Biden emailed Yi demanding $10 million more as seed money for a new company called Sino-Hawk Holdings. In August of 2017, another Hunter Biden-controlled company called Hudson West received a $5 million wire from CEFC. CFC also paid Hunter Biden's law firm, Owasco, nearly $5 million. These are according to bank records reviewed by Senate investigators. We'll just pause here for a moment.
Ooh.
In their details, these stories bear a striking resemblance to the Russiagate insanity that we were dragged through for years. Remember, they go on TV and bore you for an hour with how all these things fit together, and then this money went that way. But in the end, there was nothing there. Operating on the theory, which isn't really a theory, it's true that they always accuse you of exactly what they themselves are doing. It's kind of striking. But the truth about what the Biden family, the president, his son, and his brother Jimmy, is almost exactly what they accused the Trumps of doing. Except in the case of the Bidens, they really were getting rich from a foreign power that means us harm. And it's not Russia, which is globally almost irrelevant. It's China, which is now preeminent. So to continue with the details, a Wasco intern sent the $1.4 million to Lion Hall Consulting. That was a consulting firm run by Jimmy Biden, the former nightclub owner, the president's brother, and his wife. And that was just the beginning of the arrangement. Emails unearthed by the New York Post found that someone called the chairman, that would be Yi, promised to pay Hunter Biden $10 million a year for, quote, and we're quoting, introductions alone. In other words, leveraging his father's position in government to get rich. That's illegal, right? It's also a violation of the FARA Act, which the Biden administration has been enforcing against its political enemies. So Hunter Biden wrote to a CEFC official that Yi had amended the deal to provide for, quote, a much more lasting and lucrative arrangement, end quote. These payments continued even after CEFC's leaders were arrested on corruption charges. Hunter's paid another $1 million to represent Yi's deputy, Patrick O., even though he had no criminal defense experience, because he was a lawyer, because he went to Yale Law School, because he's a genius, the one that your kids can't get into because they're not as smart as Hunter Biden. Ooh. This is one corrupt system the Bidens sit atop of. And if that's not enough, Hunter once referred to Patrick Ho, and we're quoting, as the effing spy chief of China, according to leaked audio obtained by Real Clear Politics. So here you have the president's son who's talking to his dad about his business deal with China, admitting the guy he is dealing with is the Chinese government's spy chief. Wow. It's almost unbelievable. Joe Biden has sort of been asked about this. His response, I didn't know anything. Watch.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas dealings. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
Si, didn't you get the memo?
We're still hunting.
Hunting for
You lie, and now you've been caught lying. So after the voicemail we played a moment ago surfaced a few weeks ago, proving that Biden lied, the White House was asked about this. Not the president directly, but his publicist, the glass ceiling breaking publicist they're always bragging about. Watch the response.
This is.
Why is there a voicemail of the president talking to his son about his overseas business dealings if the president has said he's never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings?
Well, first I'll say that what the president said stands. So if that's what the president said, that is what stands. And secondly,
New York Times article concerning business dealings, and it says, "I think you're clear."
Right.
Said, not him talking to his.
And they right, wrong is wrong. You know what I'm saying? If he was doing it, he was doing it. If they got a voicemail, he did it.
But yeah, you're in the clear. Like what?
Because he president, whatever he say stands. No,
but
right, wrong is wrong. If you're doing something that's wrong, that stands. Bottom line, man, I just feel that it's gonna get worse before it get better. Yeah. You guys haven't seen nothing yet. You always hear me say it is what it is. And I promise you, man, you're gonna hear me say that a whole lot more because this man, y'all haven't seen nothing yet, and you can tell. It's getting ready to crumble. It's gonna happen, and you have a lot of people that's jumping ship right now.
Yeah, already. I mean, you see the approval rating right now, and it's like him winning this election just kind of makes it where it's like he had to win in order to follow through on some of these deals he didn't know about. It's like he had to win. And it calls into question that, in a way, after hearing this.
They say worst president ever, man. Wow.
But something about his overseas business dealings.
we're not, from this podium, I'm not going to talk about alleged materials from the laptop.
So are you disputing the president's voice on the voicemail?
I'm not going to talk about alleged materials on the laptop.
Are
It's
you
not
disputing
happening.
then that it is not?
Peter, I refer you to his son's representative.
Alleged materials. So they can get away with that because no major news organization in the United States picked up the thread. We tried to. We're a talk show. We flew to Zurich because we thought, wow, maybe there's something there. But the big newspapers completely ignored this, even though it's been out there for a year and a half.
Wow.
And it's obvious it's not just about Hunter Biden being a crackhead who liked hookers. It's about the Biden family, including the President of the United States, business dealings with the government of China, which seeks to displace the United States globally.
It's crazy, man.
So because no news organizations would take this up, and because law enforcement agencies seemed completely uninterested, the FBI has had a copy of his laptop for years now and done nothing with it.
Wow.
It's fallen to people like Jack Maxey to find out what this is about. So on Sunday, a programmer who worked with Maxey posted a live stream video outlining his intention of dropping Hunter Biden's entire hard drive online, along with clues for users to break into the iPhone and iPad backups. He put it on 4chan, which is some sort of website that's basically not very moderated, and it's kind of the website of last resort for people who want to get information out there but can't because everything is so completely censored at this point. So even on 4chan, the moderators quickly took these links down, but internet users are already seeding the contents of the backups on torrent sites. Bottom line, this is going to live online forever. It's not going away. Now, is it real? We have no reason to believe any of these data are fabricated. We've not independently verified them. We're not putting some of this stuff on the air. It's salacious. But it's pretty obvious that the materials that we've looked at are real. At the same time, it's becoming clear that Maxey and his former coders are the only two people making any progress in investigating Hunter Biden's criminal activity. Again, the FBI has done nothing since obtaining the hard drive years ago. Meanwhile, it's raiding people's houses because they, supported Trump in the last election? And the tech companies, as always, are on board, on China's side, once again censoring any discussion of Hunter Biden's activities, criminal activities, some of which are on video. And if you don't believe it, try it yourself. Type in Hunter Biden weighing crack on a scale, which is out there. Type that into Google and see what happens. You'll get your results from random YouTube.
Crack?
When you click on Google's news tab, nothing from an American media publication appears. They're stepping on the scale. They're censoring information, as they have from the very beginning. Why are they doing that? Because it matters. That's why. It's not about whether Hunter Biden was a druggie. Yeah, he was. With a screwed up personal life and a weird personal life. Yeah, knew that. That's not what it's about. They're not protecting Hunter Biden. They're protecting this administration, and they're trying to prevent you from understanding this administration's posture toward China. Among the latest findings, as reported by Andrew Kerr at the Washington Examiner, are that, quote, Joe Biden wired $100,000 to Hunter Biden during the same time frame. Hunter Biden spent over $30,000 on Russian escorts, who may very well be linked to an Eastern European human trafficking ring. There's a lot like that. But again, the real story is not that Hunter Biden...
You know what? They talk about Trump and
bad
his mouth, but the man kept it real. If Trump would have did something like that, he would have
never
said,
said he was an angel.
He would have said, hey, like, I did it. I sent the money over there. I know what I was doing.
Yeah.
That's it.
I did this.
I did that.
I sent that.
This, I did that.
This.
Yeah, my son, he got, spent some money,
and the son gonna come and say what he did.
Drugs, but, Trump gonna keep it real. This man is so sneaky. Biden and his son is so sneaky, man. And, I mean, I can't keep saying this. If I say it with 1,000 tongues, it'll never be enough. You guys, we haven't seen anything yet. I promise you, man.
This is.
I promise you, man.
This is scary.
Very scary, man. That's crazy. He said you can't look at stuff up because the government is actually pretty much making sure that you're not able to put it. Yeah, that is crazy, man.
So again, back to the whole thing of the tech companies with them trying to get or China has access to the material that is needed to create or continue to put cell phones and different devices together. So we got to go back to China to get those materials in order to make the devices.
Biden must got all time.
Man,
he must got something going on with him, man.
They did this very elaborately.
He's dealing with something. Old timers, I don't know what it is. He got something going on.
He got something going on.
It's an issue, and you know, where's the vice president? What's she doing?
She's asleep.
Wow.
Biden is a crackhead who liked prostitutes and underage girls, although that appears to be very true, and law enforcement should look into it. But for the rest of us, that's not the real story. The real story is that the Biden family was getting rich from business with our enemies. They were selling access to the U.S. government to China. And that is a crime. It's certainly a moral crime.
Yeah.
As recently as 2020, Joe Biden denied that he or his family had made any money from China. Watch this.
Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy who made money from China is this guy. Nobody else has made money.
You see the expression Trump has like
I'm Trump's thought bubble at this point.
He's lying, man.
Liar, pants on fire.
Money from China.
Your work-life balance, it's non-existent. You're never not working.
Man, the information you have to listen and learn for yourself.
So you spend so much time noting Joe Biden's creeping senility that you can overlook the fact that in his lucid moments, he's a liar. Just flat out liar. That's a lie. In fact, it's a lie so obvious, even the Washington Post, which has carried water for Biden since the very beginning, had to correct it. According to the Washington Post, quote, over the course of 14 months, the Chinese energy conglomerate, that would be CEFC, and its executives paid $4.8 million to entities controlled by Hunter Biden and his uncle. That would
didn't
be
get paid.
Jimmy Biden, the former nightclub owner. Are these guys experts on energy? What are they experts on? Nothing. Leveraging the U.S. government for personal profit. That's it. And it's not just CEFC that funded the Bidens. In all, Hunter Biden made more than $30 million from entities affiliated with China's
I'm trying to get understanding of this. Okay.
Hunter
All
Biden.
right. So I may be wrong. Correct me. But when Trump was running, when he was president, he couldn't have no ties with his business, right?
Right.
So if he had any ties, there would be a conflict of interest, right?
Yeah.
So how is it Biden is having ties in a business that actually he was doing, you know, in 2020? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. He's been doing it this long, and nothing's been done.
About it, but he was the vice president.
Exactly. Come on, man. This is crazy.
And then for you to say that they didn't earn any money from this, and
man,
then
please.
this article just comes out and
please,
say they
man.
got.
Ain't nobody just doing something.
Who doing something?
Man.
Who doing something for free?
Nobody's doing nothing for free.
Who's doing something for free?
When you have a war, it's not. They just not having a war. When you have a war, it's spoils behind it. Ever since the biblical days, anytime somebody go to war, they try to figure out, okay, how much spoils we got. What we get for this. Yeah. What's the spoils?
Yeah.
Biden's biggest deal with China involved a Chinese investment fund called Bohai Harvest RST, or BHR. In December of 2013, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden flew to Beijing. It was a government trip on a government plane. And that's when Hunter introduced his father to a BHR executive. Again, that's a flat-out violation of law. You can't take Air Force Two to China to lobby on behalf of the Chinese government, your own father. Full-on crime.
We paid for that flight.
Hunter eventually took a 10% stake in that company, a stake worth about $20 million. Then a Chinese company called Harvest Global wired another $5 million to another company controlled by Hunter Biden, this one called Burnham Asset Management. Guy's got more companies than your average mafia.
Right, exactly.
According to Washington Free Beacon, Hunter Biden, quote, reached out directly to the firm's chairman and said the investment, and we're quoting, would be important to the Biden family. Biden family, including his dad, Vice President of the United States. So what's in it for Harvest Global? Well, per the Free Beacon, quote, Biden put together a financial proposal for Burnham to pitch to Harvest that promised, quote, Washington, D.C. access for investors. They're selling influence. Selling influence with the U.S. government, again, not to Belgium, not to Swaziland, to China. the country that has the United States in its sights. They want to displace us as the leader of the world, and they will be cruel masters if they're ever able to do that.
Yeah, they will.
Hunter Biden also co-founded a firm famously called Rosemont Realty. This is a good one. Rosemont Realty
Hey,
owns
coming to
commercial
this man,
buildings all
God.
over the United States. Now, a Hong Kong-based firm called Gemini Investments later snapped up Rosemont Realty. Gemini was controlled at the time by Sino-Ocean Land. That was chaired by the head of China Ocean Shipping Corporation, or COSCO. As Peter Schweitzer reported, quote, Japanese government agencies report that, quote, Chinese intelligence services are closely linked to COSCO. Well, of course they are, and that's true of all big Chinese companies. It's not like the United States. They don't have independent big businesses in China. They're all arms of the Chinese government. Now, China's president, Xi Jinping, has called COSCO, and we're quoting, the dragon's head for China. What did Hunter Biden make for doing this? About 180 grand. Now, we know about most of this because of reporting from Hunter Biden's laptop, which now everyone admits is authentic. But for more than a year, you were not allowed to talk about the story, and now maybe you understand why. It wasn't protecting the feelings of Hunter Biden's family, or making fun of his drug addiction, or seeing pictures of him with M&Ms stacked on his private parts, yeah, whatever. It was about China. And that's why the media portrayed it at the time as a conspiracy theory. Watch.
When you look at this computer store owner in Delaware who allegedly received Hunter Biden's laptop, that is more in line with when you think about somebody who's a useful idiot. That's kind of the entry point that is kind of, again, a classic indicator of the potential presence of disinformation.
Right-wing media has been focused on Hunter Biden, this laptop that intelligence officials have warned is likely Russian disinformation.
Law enforcement is actively investigating whether the alleged Hunter Biden emails are linked to any foreign intel ops.
The story is preposterous. So we're supposed to believe that Hunter Biden, in a drunken stupor, dropped off his laptop in, I guess, apparently QAnon repair office.
So again, having been a rich country for over 100 years, Americans are not trained to think in geopolitical terms. We're not trained to think in terms of which country is more powerful than which other country. Who makes the decisions? Who's in charge? That's the way China thinks of everything. And so this story intersects with the single biggest story taking place generationally in the world, and that's the rise of China and the decline of the United States. And the Biden family participated directly in that shift of power from the United States to China. Now, in 100 years, this will all be very, very obvious. But in the meantime, do not be distracted. This is not about Hunter Biden arguing with a hooker about how much crack is on the scale. This is about our leaders, the Biden family, and not just the Biden family, selling out America, including its most precious assets, to the Chinese government.
That's crazy, man.
Subscribe to the Fox.
That is crazy, man. We so busy fighting with one another, man. We don't even understand what's going on. You know, we dealing with COVID. We dealing with so many other things as far as this gender stuff, man. It's so much stuff we following. It made me think about the Romans. The Romans was once a
Trojan horse,
powerful city, but then they were so busy fighting one another till they pretty much just destroyed themselves, man. But they was the most powerful, man. You know what I'm saying? So powerful city, and the thing is that America right now is the most powerful country, man. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that we're so busy fighting with one another. You got people giving information to other people, Chinese, you know what I'm saying, another country, and we're sitting back, you know, consistently fighting one another, that we're not even seeing this.
Nope.
This man is actually saying it, and people still probably don't even believe it.
No. I'm still over here shocked after I mailed my mail-in ballot in.
For who?
Biden.
I ain't mailed nothing in for him, man.
I'm just sick to the
I
stomach.
knew from the beginning, man.
That's not okay. I mean, because now, I mean, you really show your true intentions. I mean, I guess the true intentions were already there.
And then they give you an idea of social media, how social media, they could put something out there and make it seem like it's real, but it's not real. It's actually fake. You know what I'm saying? And you sitting there believing whatever social media throws out. That's why it's so good to do your research and make sure that whatever this person is saying is right.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy. It just lets you know how much the government is hiding. You know what I'm saying? And it's real. I'm at a loss of words. I really don't know what to say. I mean, I'm to the point now. I'm like, man, wow. I'm looking at my kids, my grandkids.
Yeah.
How that generation
how is that generation going to be
affected by it, man? You know what I'm saying? And they talking about what if China was able to just take over? Of course, man. If they was able to take over, boy, I promise you this right here ain't gonna be no that gender stuff over here. I know that's gonna be one thing they gonna get rid of. I thought in certain parts of China, they don't like you to touching what country is that? They don't like you to touch each other.
Oh, that
show emotions.
More in the Muslim.
Is that Muslim country? But you gotta understand all that stuff from China it's all gonna come over here.
But you see what that country is going through, and you look at that could be us.
Then he's talking about the coronavirus that it was created in the lab.
That right there was just like.
So if you got information that the Chinese have created something in the lab, then what did you do? If it was Trump, they'd be all over it, man. They'd be all over it. The problem with Trump was that he told the truth. He did not go by the script. He said, "Hey, look, they ain't passing this bill. It is what it is." This I'm saying it again, it is what it is. But he told the truth. He said, "Hey, man."
But you knew what was gonna come. But you also knew that as a tax-paying citizen, that it was gonna be done.
Yeah.
That whatever it wasn't gonna be done to just benefit an outside country. You feed your house first.
This man have gotten himself in a situation where
he can't get out of.
He can't get out of, and he got to do whatever they say do, man. That's the problem, man. He's like a puppet right now, and it's sad, and it's man. Right. And it's very sad, man.
But what's worse is you have those gender issues going on that's affecting children, and then the abortion rights are being overturned and things like that. So now you got people saying, "Oh, we're not gonna listen to what the Supreme Court says about that." Okay, so now you're saying, okay, let's go ahead and start back. Okay, let's make it okay to kill babies.
I ain't only just that.
Go ahead and
let's look at the border. Let's think about the border. What about the border?
Oh God, I'm telling you,
they coming in by the dozen, man. By the dozen, and I'm not saying and they're running from the cartels and all
just
stuff.
Do it the right way.
But just do it the right way.
If you're wanting to come to another country, just do it the right way. Because I was talking. Me and my husband, we don't have our passports yet. We need to really get passports. And I was just like, okay. Can we just go to another country without a passport? No, we can't. No. We have to do things the right way. But it's, of course, it seems like it would be unfair when you continuously let people come in illegally, but we have to have a passport to even get back home if we did go to another country or just to get to another country. Yeah. So doing things the right way so you won't have any issues, and it makes it easy for people who are coming from not just Mexico. Not speaking of just Mexico.
This is my problem.
Coming from other countries, Europe and all those places, it makes it easier for other people to be able to bring family members over here the right way if they so choose to come over here to live the American dream, if that is still going to be a thing.
Of course they're running from something. Yeah, they're running from something. And the problem is, you got to create a solution. What's the solution? Figure out what's going on over there. I think the government already know what's going on. You got the cartels running everything, and it's sad that families are getting killed, so they got to flee to come over here. But then part of those people that's fleeing, you got illegal people fleeing too. So you got a mixture of terrorist people coming over too. That's the problem. So they got to come up with a solution. Okay, all right, if you want to come over here, let's figure something out.
What our government not thinking about? Well, this administration, I should say, is not thinking about that.
Man, he don't care about that. I don't think he care about whatever he got going on in China.
Line in the pockets.
He don't care about that, man.
You are at YouTube. Like, comment, share your thoughts as well. I mean, we don't know everything, but we just getting our eyes opened in a way with all this right here because, yes,
I never dealt with politics, but now that I'm dealing with it, it's like, man, I'm getting this information. I'm like, wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it's better to know. Wow. All right, YouTube.
Peace.